Ottawa and Canada in general, writers, authors. Today I'm just continuing my bit of a mini series on secrets of book self publishing. What I mean by secrets are there are things that are very important if you want your book to have book industry standards that relatively, especially relatively newly publishing writers aren't aware about, or maybe you don't really care if they're not interested in getting a potential bestseller. They're not paying attention to if they want to have achieved commercial success. So in the previous video, I focused on the importance of and tips regarding copy editing based upon my considerable experience. And I definitely have more experience than many people out there. For example, this is a book one of my first books that I wrote. And this book was very successful. It was in, Chapters Indigo. Well, Indigo didn't exist at that time, but Chapters. I was interviewed by various Canadian media and in the States Voice of America. And the book went to all kinds of libraries out there. And it was written in 1997. So you can tell, it's 2026 now, I have over 25 years in publishing. So just want to emphasize that. You're getting experience perspective here. Now, for book self-publishing, I meet with authors all the time. Some of them ask me, well, can't I just buy a software to do the typesetting? And this is about a typesetting. We talk about typesetting and graphic design related to typesetting. No, you can't just buy a software for typesetting. Why? Because typesetting is a human aesthetic to typesetting and a technical aesthetic to typesetting. What I mean by that is that as far as the human aesthetic, different fonts create a mood, so to speak, in different books. Some fonts are more appropriate than others in certain types of books, and there are literally hundreds and thousands of different fonts. And I actually know graphic designers that are so excellent at their job. Out of all the thousands of fonts out there, you could show them a font and they can tell you the name of the font literally in seconds, or even less sometimes. So that's how it is. So let's talk about the importance of book typesetting. Now, the importance of book typesetting is that it's about selecting your fonts, and different books have different fonts. For example, in the book that I wrote on the Canadian history, Canadian identity, the font there is very appropriate for a particular history type book. But if we look at this book over here, and this is like a this book has a serif on it. There's serif and sans serif font. A sans serif font is like an Arial. A serif font, they have those little, those little kind of, those little kind of things at the end of the lettering that gives a little bit of extra emphasis. Those are like serifs. That's quite appropriate for a history type book. Now, if you're doing a cooking book, you don't need the serifs. You're going to want a sans serif font. That's more like an Arial type font. And this is the kind of book that this is the type of font you're going to find more in a cooking book. That's the beginning of the book. And this is the cooking book over here. See, nice clean font, nice and clean. Looks excellent book. This is a book written by Chef Corbin. Excellent book. And you don't need the serifs. A serif font is more like a Times Roman font and Braille font. You don't need a serif. So when you're doing a cooking book, this is the type of font you want to go for. Very good quality there. Okay, so this is the cooking book font. And this is the book that we published, Infinite Shades of Happiness. And that's the kind of font you'll see in Infinite Shades of Happiness. It's got a little bit of a tiny serif on there. Quite appropriate for this type of book. And it's very delicate, the font, because we're talking about dating. So it's a nice, delicate font. If you're going to do a font for a mathematics book, it should be different than a history novel. Different types of font. There's a very human aesthetic in the choosing of fonts. Other important aspect of typesetting that becomes a big mistake. when authors are self-publishing a title. This becomes a very important mistake. So, one thing you should avoid is when you're self-publishing, if you want your book to look like a professional job done in the book, according to book industry standards, always start your chapters on the right side of the book and leave the left side blank if there's no text to be put on there. That's very important, and this is why typesetting is very important. And you should, if you want your book to be typesetted, and the importance of typesetting is that a professional typesetter knows the industry standards, knows the human aesthetic, to know what is going to look good, what's not going to look good, what is your arrangement of your chapter headings. Should you choose a different font for the chapter headings? What type of aesthetics you're going to be using for that? Nice artistic kind of a look for these kind of subheadings. A sensitized typesetter will know how to, the decor, the look of your book. Typesetting is a little like, hiring an interior decorator for your house as far as aesthetic-wise, So the typesetter will know things and will be sensitive to things that only are part of, or mostly be a part of, your subconsciousness. Color schemes, design, all the different little minutiae that you'll find with a book is from the typesetting's perspective. Now, if you were just doing this on your own, you'd probably choose a completely different layout, which probably wouldn't look as good as far as being a commercially successful book. So, my advice to you is that if you have a little bit extra money, hire a professional typesetter, because they will make sure your book looks fabulous on the inside. It won't just look like a high school essay or a university essay. You don't want that for the inside of your book. So that's my tips on book self-publishing secrets. Hire a professional typesetter if you are not a professional typesetter yourself, because it's a human aesthetic and a technical aesthetic. And if you need help and assistance in finding a professional typesetter out there, contact us, reach out to us, because some typesetters, in my view, aren't very good. They're not going to give you the commercial success you're looking for. So contact us if you're looking for the commercial success you need as far as a professionally typeset book. Thanks for watching, and like and especially subscribe to this video if you want to keep track of our other book self-publishing tips. If you're interested in food tips, if you're in Ottawa, if you are interested in Canadian sovereignty like many of us are, check us out. Subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.